I never paid much attention to the old mirror in my hallway. It had been hanging there since I moved in, framed in dark wood, with tiny cracks along the edges. It wasn't beautiful, but it wasn't ugly either. It was just that. But that changed one night. I was walking past it, on my way to the kitchen for a glass of water. It was late. The house was quiet. I glanced at the mirror without thinking and froze. The reflection wasn't my hallway. It was somewhere else. A room I had never seen before. The walls were painted a pale green. There was an old armchair in the corner, a lamp that flickered like it was struggling to stay alive, and curtains that swayed even though I couldn't see any wind. I leaned closer, thinking maybe I was just tired, maybe my eyes were playing tricks. But no matter how long I stared, the room stayed the same. It wasn't my house. And then I saw it. Someone was standing in the shadows, far back, where the lamplight didn't reach. I couldn't make out a face, just a tall figure, completely still, like it had been waiting. My throat felt dry. I stepped back, but my eyes stayed on the mirror. The figure didn't move. It didn't step closer. It just watched me. I turned away, trying to shake the feeling. Told myself it was just my imagination, maybe a weird trick of the light. But as I walked to the kitchen, I couldn't get the image out of my head. That strange room. Those pale green walls. That figure. And the worst part? I felt certain that it was looking at me long before I noticed it. The next morning, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I dreamed it. Maybe I was just tired. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, later that day, I stood in front of the mirror again. My hallway looked normal. Just the same dull wallpaper, the same little table with my keys on it. No green walls. No flickering lamp. No figure. I almost laughed at myself for being scared over nothing. But then, as I turned to leave, something in the corner of my eye changed. I looked back quickly. The hallway was gone. There it was again, the same strange room. The lamp flickered. The curtains moved, like something had just walked past them. And this time, the figure wasn't in the shadows. It was standing closer, right in the center of the room. Still too far to see its face clearly, but I could tell it was tall. Broad shoulders. Head tilted slightly to one side, like it was studying me. My heart pounded. I whispered, "Hello." I don't know why I did it. I think I just wanted it to move or react so I'd know it was real. It didn't answer. It didn't move. But I swear, I saw the faintest movement where its mouth should be. Like it was whispering something. Something I couldn't hear. I backed away slowly. And just as my hand touched the wall beside the mirror, the hallway came back. The room was gone. But I couldn't shake one horrible thought. It didn't just appear closer this time. It had moved. For 2 days I avoided the mirror. I walked past it without looking. Sometimes I even took the long way around the house just so I wouldn't have to see it. But avoidance only made me think about it more. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that green room, that flickering lamp, that figure standing still, head tilted. Finally, one evening I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to look. The hallway greeted me at first. I stared into the glass, my heart thudding. For a moment, I thought maybe it really was gone. Then the lamp flickered. The hallway melted away, like water dripping from a painting. The green room appeared again. The figure wasn't there. At first, I felt relief. But then, I noticed something strange. The little wooden table in the reflection, the one in my hallway, wasn't in my actual hallway anymore. It was inside the green room. I blinked, trying to understand. It was the same table, the same scratches on the top, the same dent in the leg. How could it be there? I took a step back from the mirror. Behind me, in the real hallway, my table was gone. My breath caught in my throat. I spun around looking for it. It wasn't anywhere. I turned back to the mirror. And the figure was there again, standing right next to the table, its hand resting on it like it had claimed it. It didn't move, but somehow I knew. It hadn't just taken my table. It could take anything. I barely slept that night. I kept thinking about the table. It was in the green room now. I had no idea how it got there. In the morning, I checked the mirror again. At first, it was just my hallway. Empty. Quiet. Then the image shifted. The green room appeared. The table was still there, but now something else was different. A chair. My chair from the kitchen. It was placed right beside the table, as if someone was setting up a place to sit. And then I saw it. The figure was sitting in the chair, leaning forward, both hands on the table, still watching me. I felt cold all over. It wasn't just standing anymore, it was getting comfortable, like it was settling in. I stepped back, but my reflection didn't move with me. It stayed close to the glass, like it was leaning in. That's when I realized it wasn't just showing me the green room. It was showing me what it wanted me to see. And maybe it wanted me to be there too. I decided to cover the mirror. I grabbed an old blanket from the closet and draped it over the frame. The fabric hid the glass completely. I finally felt like I could breathe again. That night, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I woke up around 2 a.m., my mouth dry, needing water. As I walked past the hallway, I froze. The blanket was on the floor. The mirror was uncovered. I told myself it probably slipped off. But deep down, I knew it didn't. The glass was dark at first, like it was reflecting a room with no lights. Then, faintly, the lamp in the green room flickered on. The table and chair were still there. The figure was standing again. But it wasn't in the middle of the room anymore. It was right at the edge of the frame, closer than I had ever seen it before. I took a step back, and that's when I saw its hand. It pressed against the inside of the glass. Fingers long, pale, and thin, sliding slowly, like it was feeling for a way out. The sound that followed still makes my stomach turn. A faint, scraping noise, like nails against glass. I didn't wait to see more. I ran to my bedroom, shut the door, and locked it. But as I sat there in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that the glass wasn't just showing me anymore. It was reaching for me. I stayed away from the mirror for 2 days. I told myself it was just an old piece of glass. Nothing more. But every time I walked past the hallway, I could feel it pulling at me, like it wanted me to look. On the third night, I gave in. I stood in front of it, my heart beating hard. At first, it was the same strange green room. Empty table, empty chair, no figure. I almost felt relieved. Maybe it was over. Then, something changed. The image inside the mirror shimmered, like water. The green walls faded, and were replaced by beige ones. My beige ones. It was my living room. Same couch. Same coffee table. Same blanket I'd left earlier. But I wasn't in the reflection. Instead, the figure was standing there, right where I should be. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It just stared at me, and then slowly tilted its head, as if it was curious. I stepped back, but the figure stepped forward, matching me like it was coming closer through the glass. I ran to my room and shut the door. But that night, even with the lights off, I swore I could feel someone standing just on the other side of it. The next morning, I avoided the hallway completely. I didn't even want to walk past the mirror. But by afternoon, I couldn't help myself. I stepped close, but kept a good distance. At first, my reflection looked normal. Just me standing there, pale and tired. Then the background shifted again. It was my kitchen this time. Same plates in the sink. Same glass of water I had left on the counter. But there was something wrong. In the reflection, I saw myself walk into the kitchen. The problem was, I was still standing in front of the mirror. My heart stopped. It was showing something that hadn't happened yet. I watched as the other me in the reflection reached for the glass of water and froze, because behind that version of me, the figure appeared, closer than ever. Its face was hidden in shadow, but its hands, long, thin, rested on the reflection's shoulders. I backed away from the mirror, shaking. Minutes later, I heard the sound of glass breaking in my kitchen. When I went to the cup of water was on the floor, shattered, exactly like I had just seen in the mirror. I told myself I wouldn't look into the mirror again. I even tried to avoid the hallway completely. But the problem was, I didn't need to look anymore. The figure was starting to follow me without the glass. It began small. I'd be sitting on the couch, and I'd see a shadow move along the wall. Or I'd catch a reflection in the TV screen, a shape standing behind me, gone the moment I turned. One night, I was brushing my teeth. I glanced up at the bathroom mirror, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't me staring back. It was the figure. Same position as me. Same toothbrush in its hand. But the movements were slightly off, like it was copying me a second too late. I froze. It froze. Then slowly it smiled. A wide, unnatural smile that I knew wasn't mine. I dropped the toothbrush and stumbled out of the bathroom. I didn't even bother turning off the light. For the rest of the night, I sat in my bedroom with the door locked. But I could hear something. Soft, deliberate footsteps in the hallway. Back and forth, back and forth. The next morning, I barely had the courage to leave my room. I waited until sunlight filled the house, telling myself the figure wouldn't show up in the day. I was wrong. I walked past the covered mirror, but my eyes kept darting to the bedsheet. It was moving. Not much. Just a slow ripple, as if someone was gently brushing against it from the inside. I held my breath and stepped closer. Then I made the mistake of pulling the sheet away. This time, the reflection wasn't my hallway. It was a narrow staircase, old and dusty, lit by a single flickering bulb. I had never seen it before. I didn't even have stairs in my house. At the bottom of the staircase stood the figure. It didn't move, but it tilted its head as if inviting me to follow. My skin crawled. I reached for the sheet to cover the glass again, but the figure slowly began to walk up the steps in the reflection. Each step it took in the mirror echoed faintly in my real hallway. I backed away until my shoulder hit the wall. The figure stopped halfway, still staring. Then, without warning, the mirror went black. I don't know what scared me more, seeing it or not seeing it at all. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak, every hum of the fridge made me jump. But around midnight, I heard something new. A knock. It was soft at first. 3 slow taps, like someone was testing the glass. I pulled my blanket tighter, trying to convince myself it was just the wind. But then it came again. 3 taps, the pause, and then louder, sharper. I knew exactly where it was coming from. The mirror. I got out of bed, my bare feet cold against the floor, and stood in the hallway. The sheet still covered the glass, but the knocking didn't stop. It was steady now, insistent. I held my breath and stepped closer. The sound was clearer here, like knuckles rapping against a window. I thought about pulling the sheet away, but something in me screamed not to. Then the knocking stopped. Silence. I turned to walk back to my room, and that's when the sheet shifted. Not from a breeze, from something pressing against it from the inside. A faint outline formed beneath the fabric. A head, a shoulder, and then a hand. It pushed against the glass so hard I could see the shape of each finger. I stumbled back, and before I could move again, a muffled voice came from behind the sheet. It whispered my name. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe something was pulling me closer. The voice had stopped whispering my name, but I could still see the hand pressed against the glass under the sheet. It didn't move. It just waited. My fingers trembled as I reached up and grabbed the fabric. I told myself I'd just take a quick look, just enough to see what I was dealing with. I yanked the sheet down. The reflection hit me like a punch in the chest. It wasn't my hallway anymore. It was the same strange staircase I'd seen before, but now the figure was standing right at the top, right in front of the glass. It was tall, too tall. Its shoulders were uneven, and its head was slightly tilted, like it had been watching me for hours. Its face, if you could call it that, was pale, stretched tight like old paper. The eyes were dark holes, but deep inside, I swore I saw movement. Something shifting. Its mouth hung open, but it wasn't breathing. And then slowly it smiled. Not a human smile. Too wide, too sharp. I stumbled back, my heart pounding. The figure leaned forward in the reflection, but the surface of the mirror didn't break. It was like it was pushing against an invisible wall, trying to force its way through. Then it lifted its hand and tapped the glass 3 times. Each tap echoed in my hallway. The sound wasn't coming from the reflection. It was coming from my side. The tapping stopped. For a few seconds, there was silence. I almost thought it was over. Then I heard it. A slow, dragging sound, like nails scraping down a chalkboard. Only it was coming from the mirror. The figure's hand moved lower on the glass, its long fingers curling, and it started to scratch. Not gentle, not playful. It was digging. The sound made my skin crawl. Each stroke left faint white marks on the inside of the glass. But I could feel the vibration in my hallway, as if the scratches were somehow happening here too. I backed away, step by step. My eyes never left the mirror. The figure's head tilted more. Its smile wider now, and it started scratching faster. Desperate. I wanted to run, but something about that sound, it held me in place. It was hypnotic, like it was pulling me in. Then, without warning, the scratching stopped, and the figure in the reflection slowly raised its other hand. It pressed a single finger to its lips, as if telling me to be quiet. That's when I heard something behind me. Not in the mirror, in my house. A faint, wet breathing. Slow, right at my back. I froze. I didn't want to turn around. Every instinct in me screamed not to. But the breathing grew louder, wet and uneven, like something struggling to pull air through a broken throat. My heart slammed in my chest. I took a deep breath and spun around. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Just shadows stretching along the walls. The sound was gone. I turned back toward the mirror and almost dropped to my knees. The figure wasn't behind the glass anymore. The strange staircase was still there, but it was empty. My reflection was back. Only it wasn't moving the way I was. I lifted my hand slowly. The me in the mirror didn't move. It just stood there, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. Then it stepped forward. My real body didn't move, but my reflection took another slow, careful step. Its movements were stiff, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. It stopped right at the inside of the glass, staring at me with unblinking eyes. Its lips twitched, and then it whispered something I couldn't hear. I leaned in, straining to catch the words. That's when my reflection smiled, the same inhuman smile I'd seen on the tall figure. And in that moment, I knew it wasn't me at all. I stumbled back, my shoulder hitting the wall. But the thing in the mirror didn't step away. It stayed close to the glass, watching me like a hunter watches prey. Then it moved. It lifted its hand, but not the way I would have. Instead of copying me, it grabbed something, an object I couldn't see, until a second later, that same object appeared in my real hand. It was cold, metal, a pair of rusty scissors. I dropped them instantly, the clang echoing in the hallway. But the reflection didn't drop theirs. Kept holding the scissors, the blades glinting faintly in the dim light. Then it raised them to its own throat. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I reached out to stop it, but my hand hit the cold glass. No matter how much I pressed, I couldn't touch it. The reflection tilted its head, eyes never leaving mine. Then, without warning, it began to cut. Not deep, not bloody, but enough to make me gasp. Because at that exact moment, I felt a burning line appear on my neck. I stumbled backward, clutching my skin. There was no cut, no blood, just a sharp, stinging pain. The reflection lowered the scissors, and then mouthed a word I could finally read. Soon. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that twisted smile. Those scissors. That word, soon. By morning, I decided I was going to cover the mirror, maybe even smash it. I grabbed an old bedsheet, walked to the hallway, and stopped dead. The mirror was fogged over, like someone had been breathing on it from the inside. Slow, heavy breaths. I stepped closer. The fog cleared, and the room behind the glass was no longer strange. It was my hallway, exactly as it looked right now. Only there was one difference. In the reflection, I wasn't alone. The figure was standing behind me, tall, thin, its face hidden in shadow. I spun around. Nothing. The hallway was empty. When I looked back, the figure was closer to the glass. Its hand reached forward, and I saw the surface of the mirror ripple. Like water, I dropped the bedsheet. My legs wouldn't move. I could only watch as its hand slid through the glass. Cold air rushed over me. The shadow's fingers curled, gripping the frame. It began to step out. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't care about the mirror, or the house, or anything else. I'm writing this from a motel room miles away. The mirror is still in my hallway. I keep thinking, what if it doesn't need the mirror anymore?